In this next video, we're going to go over the individual exercise in creating an end condition. With this end condition, a picture of the end condition can be found on page 528. We're going to create a fill end condition with a 4:1 slope, and then a cut ditch with a 3:1 slope at 12 foot, then an 8-foot flat bottom ditch, and then a 3:1 up to ground. And so the first thing you're going to need to do is open up a Microstation file. We've already done that. We're in the plan J2P0200.dgn. You're going to need to open up the template or create template icon. If this create template opens up and it's pointing to the mode.out library, you'll need to do a file open and open up the J2P0200.itl file. You'll need to navigate down to the J2P0200 folder in the ITL, go down to end conditions, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new template, and this new template is going to be called fill 4:1 cut 3:1. To start this, we're going to do an add new component end condition. We're going to give it a name of fill. We're going to use excess ground proposed. For the feature, target type is going to be terrain model. We're going to target the active terrain model, and our priority is going to be 1. To start this off, we're going to use a fill slope T point. We're going to use excess ground proposed for the point style. I'm going to use an XY option of 0, 0 to start this, and once I type that in, I'm going to hit enter to start my end condition. I'm going to make sure on my next point, I'm going to make sure that check for interception is turned on, place point interception is turned on, and end condition is infinite is turned on. I'm going to change my point name to fill slope B for bottom, the bottom point. Still, my point style is excess ground proposed. I'm going to switch my option to HS for horizontal distance and slope. I'm going to type in 24, and then I'm going to type in comma, then -1:4. Once I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And you can see that it drew my second point at a 24-foot distance. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and right-click and finish. I chose 24 feet for my horizontal, but you could have chose just any distance you wanted, because this element has an infinite end condition property. It'll just keep drawing and drawing and drawing until it hits the ground or the active surface. So I'm going to go ahead and do a fit view. I'm going to go ahead and start my second end condition, my ditch. And again, typically you put the fills and ditch end conditions in separate items. You don't put them in the same template window. So I'm going to right click, add new end condition. Again, I'm going to change this one to a ditch. Again, excess ground proposed for my feature. Target type is terrain model, and my terrain model, I'm going to target the active terrain model. I'm going to go back to my dynamic settings. I'm going to change this to ditch 4 slope 1 top. Ditch 4 slope 1 top. I'm going to type in, or use a dynamic setting of XY, and I'm going to do 0, 0. Once I have that typed in there, I'm going to go ahead and start this end condition by hitting the enter key. I'm going to turn off my check for interception and end condition is infinite. I'm going to switch this to ditch 4 slope 1B for the bottom point. I'm going to again go switch my option to H sub S, which is horizontal distance and slope. On this one, if I look at the picture on page 5-28, the width is 12 for the ditch. So I'm going to do a 12, comma, and then I'm going to do a -1:3, because we're doing a 3:1 slope down that ditch slope, down the 4 slope of the ditch. Once I have that entered, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Now I'm going to put in my flat bottom ditch. I'm going to change my point name from ditch foreslope to ditch back slope, and I'm going to do the 1B for the bottom point, ditch back slope 1B. Still, I'm going to leave these items unchecked. I'm going to use a horizontal distance again. We need an 8-foot flat bottom, so I'm going to type in 8:0 for my slope. Once I have that typed in there, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. There's my flat bottom. And now I'm going to put in my ditch back slope line here. And so I'm going to turn on check for interception. I'm going to turn on end condition as infinite. And I'm going to change this to ditch back slope 1T for top. Again, I'm going to use the H of S. I'm just going to type in a distance of 10 for my horizontal distance. Again, it could be anything, 5, 2, whatever you want. I'm going to use 10. I'm going to do a comma. And now I need it to go up 3 to 1, so I'm going to do a 1:3. Once I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it places that ditch back slope line in there. This is the end of my ditch, so I'm going to right click and finish. And the last thing I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and test this just to see if I got priority conflicts. I click on the test button, and it does say I do have some priority conflicts, which I expected because I did both these at a priority of 1, and you can't have that when it comes off the same point. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go into my check priorities. I have two end conditions coming out of this one slope, or this one point here, so I'm going to edit that point. And what I'm going to do is just make my ditch or my fill a higher priority, or a lower priority, sorry, a lower priority, by making it a higher number. I'm going to hit OK to that. I'm going to close, and if I hit draw, you can see that my ditch draws, and once I get past the bottom of my ditch, then it flips over to a fill slope. If I go above my fill slope T point, you can see it still draws the ditch. The only time the fill kicks in is when I get down below the ditch. So if that's what yours is doing, you can go ahead and hit close. Let's save the template library by doing a file save. And with that, we are done with this individual exercise of creating a ditch and a fill slope.